Today's discussion is going to be about increasing my conversion ratios. Before I get into, strategies or tactics, which I will get into, I will get into some strategies and tactics around improving our lead conversion. But really, before I do that, I want to spend a little bit more time on what do I mean? Like, what's the importance of improving your lead conversion? What is lead conversion? How do we calculate it? So I just kind of want to maybe have a little bit of a kind of a housekeeping or kind of set up the conversation so you can get the most out of it. So if you have any questions or comments, please put those things inside of the Facebook the chat. The comments, and I might not be able to kind of multitask where I'm answering your questions, at the same time that I'm giving you this information, because I am prepared with an outline of content that I want to share with you. But if I don't get to any of them, then I do have kind of a habit of going back throughout the day or next couple of days. And sometimes I'll get a notification in the event that somebody makes a comment. I'll go back onto the Facebook page and I'll answer that. But let's just talk about when I'm talking about conversion, what am I referring to? And how do I calculate it? So there are a lot of real estate agents that like to make their numbers look a lot better than they really are, in my opinion. Okay. There's a lot of exaggeration. So when I look at conversion, and the way that I calculate it is I take total leads that we've captured, and then I convert that, and then I look at total leads that we've closed the transaction. And then I get a conversion. And that's why if you look at, say, I believe it was National Association of Realtors came out with a study a couple years back, and they said that the average lead conversion ratio is less than 1% in our industry. Now, that's a very low conversion rate. And if I was paying for a lot of leads and I had a less than 1% conversion rate, I'd be very concerned, because conversion rate can also translate into rate of return on your investment. And that's why we want to constantly be looking at the conversion rate, because if we're going to invest in leads, invest in a website, we're going to capture leads or generate leads, but capture, there's a reason why I'm using the word capture today. And it'll be more evident as the day goes on. But if we're going to spend money and invest in leads, invest in a website, a CRM, IDX, all the things that we invest in, and even invest our time, we're making an investment because we anticipate getting a return off of that investment. In other words, return in revenue and ultimately profitability. But a lot of people's profitability suffers. Now, what they tend to do as real estate agents is we tend to blame our lack of return on the quality of the lead. Now, good. You guys have been around me long enough. I'm very transparent. I have a fairly strong opinion about the real estate industry. Some people like my opinion, some people don't. But just respect them at least. It's my request of you. You surely don't have to comply. But I do have a lot of experience in the industry. And my belief is that one of the reasons we blame the lead source is because that gives us the ability to blame something other than ourselves. My experience tells me, because I have dealt with so many different lead sources, organic leads, Google PPC, Bing, home valuation leads, realtor.com, Ojo, referral companies like Fast Expert, HomeLight, organic leads through Real Geeks, organic leads through other CRM, IDX CRMs that I tested. And what I found is that when we use the same strategies to convert the leads, then our conversion ratio was relatively consistent amongst all lead channels. Now, when I come to that conclusion, what that says is what we do matters more than the lead source. Now, I may get pushback, and if you want to push back in the comments, push back. Let's be respectful of each other. So I'm not saying, talk trash and tell me I'm an idiot for saying that, but I believe that somebody's going to listen to this and they're going to disagree. They're going to disagree because that's what we do in our industry. We tend to blame the source of the leads. That's why I said, "Oh, I've tried those leads. Those leads are terrible." And I'm like, no, they're not. No, they're not. They're the same. Well, Greg, what do you mean they're the same? You mean, because I see this one Facebook post that's been going around, and that is Zillow sold like 150 million, or is it one? No, yeah, Zillow sold 150 million leads to real estate agents. But there was only 5 million sales. And what that post is all about is like Zillow scamming people, selling all these leads to every single agent. But there's another side of the story. Agents get these leads, make one attempt, never call the lead. Zillow follows up with the lead and finds out that the lead was never called. Zillow then routes that lead to somebody else. The reason why lead companies sell the leads 5 times is because it takes 5 agents to get the lead before some agent will actually do the proper job on how to work the lead. Again, you can push back on that if you want. I don't say this vocally in big forums. I know this Facebook page is closed and whatnot, and I don't mind, and this is not a slam against Zillow. It's not a slam against our industry. What I'm trying to do is there's another side of the story. Somebody will say, Realtor.com, their leads stink. Somebody else will say, oh my gosh, Realtor.com is the best resource. How can both be true? It either stinks or it doesn't. The methods of generating the lead within that portal is the same. What's the one variable? The agent's activities. Why could one agent love PPC and another agent says they're terrible? One agent, myself, loves home valuation leads, and then the majority of the people say they're terrible. Why? It's because it's not the lead source. It's the activities of the agent. If I could convince everybody within Real Geeks to take ownership in the results that they're getting in the area of conversion, oh my gosh, it'd be amazing. Our conversion ratios would go through the roof. Now, going through conversion, I have on my list that there's a few different ratios that you need to become familiar with. Number one is capture to contact ratio. Capture, I got a new lead and I actually made phone contact or a two-way, more than just one outbound text conversation. I've either had a text conversation that included more than one text back and forth, or I had a physical conversation, not an email reply, either a text conversation or a physical conversation ear to ear. That's a capture to made contact ratio. Then you've got the contact. Now that I've made contact, the contact to appointment ratio. That's the second one that I think is very important. And then you got the appointment to written contract ratio. So in our short time together, I'm going to break down each one of those 3 ratios, and I'm going to give you a few ways that everybody, without improving their skills, I'm going to give you a few activities that you could execute upon and improve every one of those ratios. And if you improve just a little bit in each one of these ratios, that's going to compound to be a massive improvement in your overall conversion and ultimately the profitability or the return on your investment for whatever you're doing in terms of buying leads. Or if you're getting leads organically, you still have the hard cost of the websites. So whatever your cost per lead is, you'll get a much better return on your investment if you follow through on what I'm saying. Now, a lot of you watch this video every single week that I do. Of course, it's a different subject. Next week will be totally different. And I just want to always remind you that I go much deeper in our coaching program called Real Geeks Mastery. So you could just Google Real Geeks Mastery Coaching. You could direct message me, but that's where I do a much deeper dive. And I kind of say, here's how you do it. Here's the workflows that you need to use, etc. So I invite anybody to take advantage of that and maybe consider that additional coaching that I'm doing. But let's get back to this capture to contact. Now, when I said I used the word capture, because I think a true ratio should be based on capture. How many leads did you spend money on or time or energy to get, and how many did you transact, right? Now, what a lot of people do is you'll hear people say, well, my conversion ratio is 10%. And you're like, wow, that's a good conversion ratio. There could be somebody, but it is extremely rare to have somebody that has a true conversion rate of 10%. Typically, when you're going to see a number that big, here's what they're telling you. They're telling you that their conversion ratio is 10%, but the formula for conversion is this: leads contacted to converted. But I'm saying the true conversion ratio should be leads obtained, lead captured to converted, which means there's a lot of leads that we capture that we never contact. So what some agents do to make their number look better, they eliminate all the ones that they never talk to, and they only give you the ratio based on who they talked to and how many they converted, which is going to obviously give them a bigger number because it's a lesser number of leads that they're dividing into. But the problem that I see is this an unrealistic picture of conversion ratio, because whether you talk to them or not, you paid for them. You pay for captures. You don't pay for contacts. So I think in the industry, those that do that, they want their number to look bigger, and that's one way to do it. But I think they're selling themselves short and misleading themselves, because if you don't do a ratio from capture to contact and look at it from the capture, then you're going to miss the biggest opportunity to influence this ratio. Okay, so let's go from contact to capture to contact ratio. How can we improve this? Okay, so the average agent is going to make probably less than one attempt to talk to their new lead. I know it's not you who's listening, because if you're tuning in, by the way, you're probably you're tuning in because you're looking for additional ways to improve. So you probably have that state of mind of looking to improve. So you may not be that person that's not calling the lead. But on average, in our industry, we're on average making less than one attempt per lead. So for everyone you don't even make an attempt, you're going to never talk to those. So if you were to get 100 leads, it would be common for you to contact anywhere between 13 to 15 of those leads. You get 100 leads, you call them all. A few of them are going to answer. You call them all again, a few more are going to answer. You text them, a few more are going to answer. You call them again, a few more are going to answer. Or I shouldn't say that. You call them one time, a few are going to answer. You text them, a few are going to answer. You call them more time, a few are going to answer. Next thing you know, you got 15 out of 100 to talk to. But because you made multiple attempts, 3 attempts, and then all the 85 people that you didn't talk to, we start making up in our minds that those leads stink, that they're not good, they're not interested, they're just lookers. Whatever story we tell ourselves. And when we start telling our story about those leads, start telling that story about the leads, then we stop making attempts, because it makes no sense to keep calling people that are never going to answer. So when you say these people are never going to answer, it's just a waste of time, you won't call them again. It's not logical to call somebody that's not going to answer. And because we made up the story, but that story became our truth, then we stopped taking action. Therefore, on average, we probably only really talk to around 15% of the leads that we capture. So in that scenario, that means 85 leads were paid for that we never talked to. 15 people we talked to that we paid for. Now, the ratio from that point on is only going to be based on, like, capture to appointment set is only going to be based on the 15. So those 85 out there, there's zero chance you're going to get paid on those. You're not going to get a return on that investment. And that's the majority of your lead spend. You're never talking to them. So the biggest way and best way and fastest way you can improve your profitability with PPC leads or just leads in general is making sure that you improve or increase your capture to contact ratio. So what we can do is we can use workflows, text templates, email templates. We can use techniques like this, a double dial technique where I get a new lead, I call them, they don't answer, I hang up, don't leave a message. Then I wait 5 seconds, I dial their number again, I call them again. We know that when you do a double dial, not leaving a message after the first dial, when you do a double dial on an opted in lead, we know that you're going to get a percent of people that won't answer on the first dial, but will answer on the second dial. We know that. So we're already, like, if we just use double dial technique on a new lead, we're likely to go from 15 out of 100 to maybe 18 out of 100. But let's just assume you don't get an answer on the second dial. Leave a message. And then you do what I call the text, the DDT, double dial text. Dial, no answer, dial, message, text. And the text is, hey, I just left you a message. I'm sure you're busy at the moment. I've got some additional information you might find interesting about that property. I wanted to check if there's any chance you would like to take a look at that property, or at least, give me an idea when you can chat. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to get 2 or 3 more people to text you back. Now we're in a conversation. So with the double dial technique, we improve our conversion ratio from 15 to 18 to 21. That right there, going from 15 to 21, I don't know the exact math, but from 15 to 21, that's an improvement of 6. And 6 is a big percent of 15. Let's just say it's 40% of 15. So you just increased your capture to contact ratio by 40%. Well, then how's that going to influence your appointment ratio? Because if you're talking to 40% more people, you're probably going to be setting 40% more appointments. All the other ratios are going to be consistent. Your appointment contact to appointment ratio is going to be the same no matter if you talk to 10 people, 15, or 25 people. It's a ratio. And then your appointments to contact ratio will be whatever ratio you currently are. You're just pumping in more numbers. You're running the same ratio on a bigger number, which is going to mean you're going to have a bigger result. Ultimately, the capture to closed ratio will go up significantly because it compounds on each other. I know that this is maybe detailed and I'm going fast. Again, I go fast because I'm so committed and inspired to give you the information. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments, and I'll try to clean up and kind of go backwards at another time in the next day or so and answer those questions. But for anybody that's listening right now, if you just happen to be a vendor and you're probably really appreciating I'm having this conversation, because the people that are selling the leads, generating the leads, they're always getting blamed for the conversion. The lead provider has no influence on your activities. Therefore, the activities create the conversion. I'm giving you an activity. How about use the double dial text process strategy on every new lead? You'll go from 15 to 21. Now, there's a chance that that's still 21. There's still 79 that you're not talking to. Okay. Well, I just shared with you double dial text. You do that within the first 5 minutes of you capturing the new lead. And when that doesn't work, go ahead and kick off a workflow that has another text and 2 emails in it. And then kick off a reminder in that workflow to remind you, hey, call them again. Then make 2 more attempts to call them in the same day. So now we got double dial, text, 2 emails, and a call. There's 7 attempts in the first day. And then day 2, those 7 attempts probably get you from 21 to 30. And then on day 2, you do a variation of that. Maybe it's not 7 attempts, but maybe you start off in the morning with a text and then a call and then a text and an email. Now, all of a sudden, you got 4 more attempts. That's 11 attempts in the first 2 days. And now all of a sudden, you're now talking to 50 of them. You went from 15, or let's just say you only went to 45. You went from 15, which is common, to now talking to 45 of them. That's a 300% improvement in that one conversion ratio, which will translate to probably 100% improvement in the number of sales. Oh, Greg, I don't believe it. I've tested it. Have you? Yes, I did it one time. Oh, no, that's not testing. Testing is not leaving today's call and doing this one time. Testing is I'm going to do this for 90 straight days on every lead. Hey, look, I'm okay with being wrong. Like, take this strategy, do it for 90 straight days on every single lead, and then let me know that I'm wrong. But that's testing. Testing is not like listening to this and like, okay, I'm going to do what he said. All right, everybody, let's do what Greg said. And then all of a sudden you do it for 2 days. You don't get anything except stop texting me or no, I'm not interested. And then all of a sudden, then it's further hammers in and builds your narrative, which is these leads stink. No, test it for 90 days. 1% of people will say, stop reaching out to me. 1% of people will say, I'm not interested. 1% of people will say, I was just looking. 1% of people will say, I have another agent. And 1% of people will buy with you. And by doing these strategies, you will make more sales, which is the ultimate goal. I was talking to some of the agents at my company. I'm like, look, the reason we show up every day and we work our database is so we can goal pan for yeses. But like any goal panner, goal prospector, they had to sift through way more mud than they did nuggets. They had way more pebbles and rocks and dirt and water than they ever, like they could go all day and get like, no, I mean, stick the pan in the water and get nothing but junk. No, all day, all for the sake of just getting the one nugget. There were empires built off of one nugget a day. I should say, I don't know if they were really built off of one nugget a day. There are empires built on sifting through all the junk to identify the one nugget. I believe what hurts our conversion ratios the most is we're not willing to sift through all the leads to find the one nugget. Sifting through is making more attempts on those new leads. In Real Geeks, when you see that there's a lead that you've never had a conversation with, and they've been in your system for 3 months, you've never talked to them, what workflow are you using? Use a workflow to get them engaged. And when they're engaged, call them. That influences your ratio. So capture to contact can be most influenced by how many contact, increasing the number of attempts you make in the first 24 hours, the first 2 days. So let's say the first 48 hours. Then you've got contact. Now you've contacted them and you want to influence your appointment ratio. The easiest way to increase your appointments is to make sure you offer the appointment within the first sentence of talking to somebody. You get a new lead. Hey, I got your information. Oh, it's a great property that you're asking about. I'm just kind of curious. Are you interested in taking a look at that this afternoon, or would you like to take a look at it maybe sometime tomorrow? If you let that be the first sentence, I bet you double the number of appointments you set. Can you imagine if you double the amount of people that you actually got into contact with, and then out of that number that's doubled, you double the amount of appointments that you set? Do you realize this is compounding? This is compounding. This is 1 + 1 = 4. That's what this means. See, there's people out there that are doing these techniques, like in our office or in other offices. There's people that do this, and their conversion ratios are extraordinary, like maybe 6% conversion ratio, legit 6%, counting all the leads that they didn't even talk to, not just the ones that they talked to. It's very important to understand, like when you start learning about ratios, you got to understand the source of the person. How do they define the ratio? What is the actual ratio of? Because we use terms like conversion ratio and we make assumptions. I'm a purist. I believe the true ratio should be the number of leads I paid for to contacted, or the number, but every ratio starts with the number of leads I paid for, not just the number of leads that were contacted. And then we have the last ratio, which is the appointment to contract written. So if we do what we shared, a few techniques today, you could double your contact ratio to capture. And then you ask for the appointment or offer the appointment, assess access to the property in the first sentence of every contact. And then you do this. Every property you show, you ask them if this is the one that they see writing an offer on. Hey, is this the one that you see moving into? Is this the one that you see for your family? Is this the home that you visualize to be your first home? However you want to ask it, ask that question while you're inside every single property. People will tell you, no, I don't think this is the one. Okay, good. Then, so do you suggest that I put this on the list to eliminate, or is this still a list of possibility, of potential selection? No, you could put this on the list of elimination. See, buyers buy off the process of elimination more so than the process of selection. So in every single property, now I'm not trying to get them to buy the property. I'm trying them to either tell me needs to be on the elimination list or the potential selection list. Then I can kind of help them. I'm helping them understand every property we go into, we need to determine, is this going to be selection, potential selection, or definite elimination? Now I'm getting through. It's going to be way more efficient. After I have 2 or 3 showings, I can promise you won't have to ask the question, because the 4th showing, you're going to go in and they're going to walk in. Oh, no, I can smell they had pets. Put this one on the elimination list. I'm not buying anything that had pets. Now, see how efficient it is? But at the same time, when they find one, they're like, oh boy, this one might be potential. Okay, now let's talk about it. You will move people through the sales funnel a lot faster if you'll use this type of scripting every single time. So there's many, many other techniques that I could share with you. Of course, we just don't have time when it comes to sales scripts and language, but just recap real quick. The capture to contact ratio can be improved. You can increase the ratio, your results, by making more attempts in the first 48 hours. The people that you talk to, you'll set more appointments by making sure you ask for the appointment in the first sentence of every conversation. And you'll write way more contracts during your appointments if you ask them to help you determine whether it needs to go on the potential selection list or the definite let's eliminate list. Doing those simple strategies in each one of those areas, you will see exponential growth and improvement in your conversion ratio. All right, everybody. That's it. I'm going to monitor the comments. I need to get going, so I'm not going to answer the comments right now, but I will definitely be committed to answering them if there is any. I think there are some, so I will definitely do my best to get you those answers. If anyone's interested in Real Geeks Mastery, having me as a coach, really focusing on Real Geeks coaching. This is not going to be coaching on expireds and FSBOs. We do have coaching for that. That's called Agent Success Academy. But for Real Geeks, for those of you that want to improve your abilities to monetize this great investment we're making in Real Geeks, then please reach out to me. Thank you so much for tuning in. You all have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.